Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Hearthstone had some major announcements today, and Year of the Phoenix is about to start, and one part of a new Hearthstone year is the Hall of Fame rotation. So what does Hall of Fame rotation mean? It means that some specific cards from the classic set in Hearthstone, which are supposed to be evergreens, are going to be rotated out of the standard format and into the wild format. So once they're in wild, they can be used on the wild ladder, in some tavern brawls, in some single player content, but no longer in standard. And because this is not a regular rotation that players can expect, then you are going to get compensation for all of those cards that are going to rotate to the Hall of Fame. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to craft in order to maximize your free dust. This year, 2 legendary cards are going to rotate to Hall of Fame, Leroy Jenkins and Prophet Velen. If you already own these cards as regular copies or as golden copies, you should do nothing, you can't gain more dust. If you don't own the cards at all, crafting them in golden is going to give you the most dust. Because if you craft a golden copy of a legendary, that costs 3200 dust, then once the rotation happens, you're going to get 3200 dust in compensation, and you get to keep the golden legendary, which you can then disenchant for another 1600 dust, for a total net profit of 1600 dust. If you own a regular copy of the card, you should do nothing, you will get 1600 dust in compensation, and then you can also disenchant the card for another 400 dust. So you can get 2000 dust out of that, or you get to keep the card and have 1600 dust in profit. And the same if you own a golden copy, you're going to get 3200 dust in compensation, then you can optionally disenchant it for another 1600 dust, or you can keep the card and keep the 3200. The same logic applies to epic cards. There are 2 epic cards going to Hall of Fame this year, Mountain Giant and Shadow Form. You should make sure that you have 2 copies of each, because you can get compensation for the number of cards that you can put in a deck, and you can put 2 epics in a deck, so you need 2 copies to get maximum compensation. If you don't have 2 copies, craft any missing ones in golden, but if you have 2 regular copies or 2 golden copies, or 1 regular and 1 golden, so 2 overall, you can't do anything to improve your position. The same also applies to rares. There are 3 rares going to the Hall of Fame this year: Mind Control Tech, Organized Soul Priest and Holy Fire. If you already have 2 copies of each in any mix of golden or regular copies, don't do anything, you're perfectly set for the rotation. If you don't have 2 copies of these, craft golden versions of any that you are missing. Commons are a little bit different because the amount of dust you get from golden commons is much higher in comparison to other rarities. So Acolyte of Pain and Spellbreaker, if you make golden copies of these and then disenchant them, you get a little bit of additional dust. But it's a fairly low amount, so you should prioritize the higher rarities in your crafting. Overall, if you have none of the Hall of Fame cards, you should craft them all in golden, and then you will get all of the dust that you spend on crafting them back when the rotation happens, and then after the rotation you can disenchant all those goldens, and you will gain a net profit of 5600 dust. If you already have regular copies of all of the Hall of Fame cards, you will get 5560 dust without doing anything. You even get to keep the cards if you want to use them in wild, for example. If you already have regular copies of all the Hall of Fame cards, the maximum dust that you can gain is 6940 by crafting golden commons and then disenchanting everything after the rotation. Also, if you really like wild and you like golden cards, then this is an opportunity to craft everything in golden, disenchant all your regular copies, and you will have the golden ones at a discount. You'll make less of a net profit than you would without doing anything, but if you really like golden cards, then that is an option too. Just make sure that you have all of the Hall of Fame cards in your collection in one form or another to make some free dust. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.